Thank you for joining us for a special edition of Litter Media Live, visiting today with Bart Henshaw to our far left of the screen, or would that be far right? It's my right, your left. And Sharon Verhoff with us as well from the League of Women Voters here in Chillicothe and Ross County. We're going to talk about their Candidates Night, which makes its return. We're happy to hear that. We'll tell you how and why coming up in just a moment. But first, this from Tomlinson Insurance Agency.
This is Andy Tomlinson. When insuring what's important to you, our agents are there when you need us the most. Tomlinson Insurance, for the best coverage at the best cost. Visit us online at tomlinsonins.com to learn more.
Tomlinson Insurance Agency bringing you today's interview to talk with the Chillicothe-Ross County League of Women Voters. Bart Henshaw, Sharon Verhoff, thank you for joining us. This is something we've talked about before, but it's a different format this time. COVID knocked it out. Last year you had few participants, and this year you've got a different format, and that's going to make it better.
One of the things I think we can all agree on is COVID made changes.
Yes.
And prior to COVID, League of Women Voters had been looking at some alternatives for the format for Candidates Night. The traditional question and answer format didn't seem to be giving voters as much exposure to candidates as they liked. So we're going to do something new. Other leagues have done this and liked it. It is much more informal, and it's an opportunity for people to meet the candidates. They will be assigned to tables. We have 5 candidates participating, and so they'll be assigned to tables, and the candidate rotates from table to table, and they'll be introduced by a league member, so that you don't have to as a candidate, you don't have to start out with how long you've been married and that sort of thing. You can start right into why I'm running for this office, what I think I can do, and what are the biggest issues for me.
Its informality really will be helpful, I think, to anyone who does come and get their opportunity to ask any question they really have.
Yeah, and you don't have to have the pressure of standing in front of an audience and with a microphone and making sure that you're reading the right question.
A really good point, because one of the reasons we've gone to this format is that there won't be microphones. No one will be allowed to record on their cell phone. Certainly if somebody from the press comes, they can talk to candidates before or after the event, but not in that room.
And this will be, I think, a little easier for those in attendance as opposed to feeling kind of the stuffy formality of it all.
We had the opportunity in Southern Ohio to go to one of these that was done. They called it speed dating, and we laughed and went down and enjoyed it immensely.
We did. Mm-hmm.
And I think it was so informative. We had no idea who we were talking to, literally, but I already picked out candidates I wanted to vote for just because.
Well, I like the idea of it being like speed dating because it's very similar, isn't it?
It is. We chose not to use that in our advertising because it sounded a bit trivial, but it is a good description. And Sharon's absolutely right. We were impressed in Claremont County with the conversation that started at each table. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just stiff Q&A. It was, but how about this issue and how about that issue? And so the candidates there had 5 minutes. Our candidates will have a little bit longer because there are just 5 of them. And so there are actually some things that come up from the voters that are good information pieces for candidates.
And spontaneity is always welcomed.
Yeah. This event will take place on September 22nd. It'll be in the Ross County Service Center. Many remember it as the old Hearts Building, right here in Chillicothe. 5:30 till 7?
No, it starts at 7, but we're encouraging people to come at 6:30. What we say in our advertising is come at 6:30 to get your seat at the table.
Yeah. And I had another meeting on my mind when I said
right.
5:30. So make sure you have dinner first, then come and sit down at this table.
Though we will have snacks.
Indeed.
You can't have an event without snacks.
There you go. But it'll be afterwards.
Yeah. The candidates that will be participating, can you tell us who they are?
The candidates will be participating, and I want to start with giving a shout out to the chair of the Republican and Democratic Party, because David Glass and Donna Meyer have been very helpful in supporting us in this event. And so we have the candidates that are running for commissioner, Jack Everson and Doug Corcoran, the candidates running for auditor, Robin Brewster and Jeff Lehner. and Gary Boone, who is running for state representative, and he would be in a competition against Shane Wilkin, and he will be there.
And Shane will not be able to attend, and if this were an open mic situation, you wouldn't be able to have the night, right?
That is correct. Shane was sent an invitation. He chose not to attend, and that is his prerogative. But in the old format, we would have had to cancel the entire event, or at least that part of it.
Right.
Prior to last year, was there ever a candidates' night canceled because of that?
Not since 1919.
Okay, because I thought of the oddity of that last year and the uniqueness of it, and I'm glad that you've gone to this format to get it back up and running.
Thank you very much. And one of the things we all know is that the political environment has changed in the last 10 years. And one of the things that happened at League is that their lawyers began saying things more with more strength about you can't do something that highlights one person without another. So in the past, we may have had a candidate not coming.
Or someone who read for them, or at least said what their stance was, but it didn't answer any of the questions that we were asking.
Yeah, there was some type of representation there.
But this will be, I think this is better for the voters.
Mm-hmm. How can someone prepare to be there that night?
That's a great question, because one of the, even though we work with voter education, we're not always sure what the role of a commissioner or the role of an auditor. And I think if you're going to ask good questions, that it might be worthwhile just very quickly going to the state website and saying, what is the role of an auditor? What is the role of a commissioner or a senator? We have, there's other issues that come into this night. We have 2 people running unopposed because of the redistricting issue in the state of Ohio. And so I'm sure that it might be top of mind for some voters to do a little research on that redistricting thing and try to understand it. And if they do, they can come and explain it to all of us.
Because no one really truly seems to have a firm feel for it, do they?
It is a process that's complicated. Yes.
Yeah. And I know on your website, which you can find the address on the scroller here, there is a subject matter of gerrymandering right there. I know that's something that we've talked about off and on throughout the years. And just like the activity itself, the term takes on a different meaning as well, it seems.
Eldridge Gary started all of that.
Yeah.
Back in way time, 1909, something on that order.
Way time.
But the League of Women Voters state has been very, very involved in the process and also making sure that it's going to be legitimate for the voters, because that's who we serve.
Right.
And I know this is a little off, but it is so important. Exactly what Sharon's saying is our issues have been the same issues. They're not Republican issues or Democrat issues. Right now, there may be people that say, oh, you stand for those issues that one party supports more than the other. I have letters in a folder from 1980s from Republican senators and representatives saying, we can't wait to work with the League on getting rid of gerrymandering. Gerrymandering is whoever's in charge. Yeah. Democrats have been equally strong. I was starting to say perverse, but
interested in.
Thank you. Find a word for me. In maintaining control. Sure. It is the willingness to have control. But our position is that individuals, a party, shouldn't have control. Voters should have control.
Right.
And that issue hasn't changed.
Yeah. And what has changed during all of this, there's always been argumentative points from the very beginning to today. But social media has changed so much of that, and it's created more decisiveness, I think, than anything.
Yeah.
Or division, not decisiveness.
Well said both times.
Yeah. In both situations, right?
Yeah. You remember the program we did on media and how to listen to media and trying to help people pick out good information. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the reasons we're glad to be back doing Candidates Night, is that people can come and in person see the face of the candidate, talk to that person and really get a feel for it, not just because they're one party or the other. You should never vote that just because it's one party or the other. You should vote for the quality of the candidate.
That's one thing I've always had difficulty with primaries, because if it's a primary and you have to vote Republican or you have to vote Democrat, I like being able to walk in and say, I don't care if it's a D or an R next to their name.
Right.
I want to vote for who I want to vote for.
That's right.
Absolutely. Another position, another issue that League has supported for the last 10 years is in Ohio having open primaries, where you can get a list of all the people running and vote for whoever you want. Not surprisingly, there's a little pushback on that.
Yeah. And I think on the education side, and I think you ladies have a hand in that, but also our boards of election, with the availability through the websites now, have as much information about candidates on there as you possibly can, because there are times, I'll be honest with you, I've gone into the ballot box and taken a look, and I'm like, I knew nothing about this person. Yeah. Where are they from? Who are they? Well, I'm going to pick the one I'm more familiar with. And a lot of times, voting comes down to how many signs you've seen, probably.
That's true.
An image is placed in our mind.
Yeah. There's some websites. Our Vote 411 is a website that has information that the candidates provide. Nothing is edited. Ballotopia has candidate information that they provide, but the candidates have to be willing to fill that out. Right. And that is increasingly a problem. People don't need to have those kinds of exposures because they're locked into a race they're guaranteed to win.
True. And so many people find themselves running unopposed these days. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, you don't need to know enough about me. My name's out there.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
But we do need to know.
I got this.
Right.
As a voter, I feel a bit cheated if I go in and have no choice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
why did I come?
Yeah.
Will you? I know it's candidates' nights, but will you have any issues, anything like that that will be discussed?
Thank you. Thank you for asking. Actually, in Ross County, there is a senior citizens renewal and there is a children's services renewal. And if those people are out there as we are speaking this morning, it is on my list to call you today to see if you can come and speak to your levies.
Great. Yeah. Anything that we have missed here that people should know?
Well, always vote. You just vote. My students at school used to say, Ms. Verhoff, who are you going to vote for? I said, that's why they have curtains on the voting booth.
Right.
I didn't talk about that. I can't for League, and I didn't as a school teacher. I couldn't promote anything. And so it makes you kind of global in some ways to be honest about what really will work best for our city or our state or our country.
Mm-hmm.
I think, again, people ask, how can I participate? And they may look at the fact that 5 candidates are going to be there on September 22nd and say, oh, I already know those people, just like name recognition or number of signs or something like that. No, you don't. Take a few minutes, come, meet these individuals. They're putting their time, money, and energy into a campaign. Come and give them a shout. Do not wear any kind of logo that has their name on it. You can't wear that into the candidates, meet the candidates room. But come and participate. This is a small, fun way to participate.
And the conversation afterwards is always wonderful, not just with the candidates, but with different tables, interacting. What'd you hear? And so I think it's a real happening. And you'd miss out if you don't come.
Well, again, September 22nd is the date, 7 p.m., and that'll be at the Ross.
But come at 6:30.
Come at 6:30 so that you don't come straggling in at 7 o'clock. And that way you get a chance to get a seat at the table and visit with the candidates that night.
Very good.
Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you. We really do appreciate all you're doing.
They've been longtime friends of the radio program and now here with Litter Media as well. Bart Henshaw, Sharon Verhoff, thank you again.
Thank you.
And thanks for watching here on Facebook. Feel free to share this with anybody as you get ready for September 22nd, Candidates Night with the Chillicothe-Ross County League of Women Voters.